Hello, and welcome back to Alleyway Conversations. Once again, I'm Andrew.
And I have a hat, which is relevant.
Because you're bald.
I'm also bald, yes.
And today we have another special guest. This is our first-timer for today.
Yeah.
We have Ethan with us today.
Hi, I'm Ethan.
Yeah. We have... He's more of a resident expert, whereas I'm just that horror fan that just watches Sleepaway Camp and goes, wow, that was cool.
That chick has a dick! Wait a minute. I don't think...
Better not sexually awaken anything in me.
Well, as
Especially
a...
considering the fact they were teenagers. That's gross.
Really? I didn't even think they were... I thought they were like 12 in that movie.
Okay, you don't have to make it weirder.
They made it weird enough without my help.
Fair enough. Sleepaway Camp was weird.
So, today, as our final episode and a send-off tribute to Halloween, we did I would say, the three biggest slasher icons of the genre.
Yeah, we did skip over Halloween. I feel like that should be its own thing.
It should. Michael Myers is also a really major name. But we did Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Chucky, Charles Lee Ray, that was his actual name.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember.
We didn't do Michael Myers, that's why I just said
That's what I'm saying. We didn't do Michael Myers, even though he is a big
But
name.
we did do Michael Myers.
Oh, is that what I ended up saying?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Again, we kind of go off the rails wherever we want
Hard to say if we'll keep that in the final recording or not. It was fine.
Yeah. So, personally, I never grew up watching horror movies. The closest thing I got was the Blair Witch Project. That was like my first step into horror, and I didn't really care for it. It was a great movie, and don't get me wrong, I'm just not somebody who likes getting scared. Which might be why I prefer the slasher genre, because it's more about the kills than it is about scaring the audience.
Fair enough. I mean, it is like slasher adjacent, I guess. Like, it is, like, very much like a couple of dumb kids go into the forest, stuff happens, people die.
They show their tits, then they get killed.
I don't recall that from Blair Witch, but okay.
Oh, I thought we were going into the Jason. Well, because the first I ever saw of Freddy or Jason was Freddy versus Jason back in high school.
I think it was mine too, but wow, that is not a good place to start.
I mean, it was fun.
Yeah, I guess it would, like, kind of ease you into it, but, like, it is not doing either franchise justice.
It really isn't. I wonder if they should have thrown Chucky in there. Because am I the only one who wants to see Jason just walk up and, like, punt a Chucky doll as far as he can? That would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
There were all sorts of attempts to do, like, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash versus Chucky versus Michael Myers.
Yeah.
But doesn't New Line own most of those horror franchises now? Because I know they have Freddy and Jason.
Yeah.
Do they have Chucky?
No. Well, Universal owns the second movie Onward. And
In the Chucky series?
Yeah, and MGM owns the first movie.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
that's why anytime we pick out, like, a pack of Child's Play movies, they always leave out the first one, and now we know why.
Yeah, I kept wondering, because the same thing with the Jason movies. We bought the pack and it had the first 8, and I'm like, isn't there 10 in the original series?
Yeah, that's when it got switched over to New Line, I believe, and I've been told that's when it got kind of weird.
Jason Took Manhattan was weird.
Yeah, that was like the introduction in getting weird. But
That was Paramount just giving up.
Like,
yeah.
you know what, this is the last movie,
Listen,
nobody's gonna care after
We got this big guy in a ski mask that kills teenagers. What more do you want?
I mean, you have tits, and we have interesting kills.
Yeah.
Is anyone really watching past that?
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't tell you the single name of anyone that was killed in the Jason movies, but I could tell you it was fun watching them die.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no. I can name actors. In fact, I actually put a post on Facebook because there were like some pretty big names that ended up being in the Friday the 13th series. Of course, there's Kevin Bacon. Everybody knows that.
Oh, I forgot about him, yeah.
Except for Andrew. Everybody knows that. There was also Crispin Glover. Corey Feldman was in a few. Ask your parents about that. But
don't look into him now. I don't suggest it.
Yeah.
He got weird.
He kind of went crazy after the 80s. But, yeah.
What was he in that made him famous? I recognize him. He was in The Goonies.
Yeah, he was in The Goonies. He was also in Stand By Me.
Okay.
He was in quite a few things. Lost Boys.
Okay. For
really
some
good in
reason,
Lost Boys.
I feel like I saw him in a TV show, and I don't know why.
You might be thinking of Kirk Cameron.
I could be. For some reason, I have the picture of Saved by the Bell in my head, and I don't know why.
That would be Dustin Diamond. I don't remember Zach's name. Zach's actor's name,
But I don't know why. That's just for some reason something that's popping into my head, and I couldn't tell you why.
Mario Lopez. He's doing well for himself these days. I'm happy for him. Yeah.
So, the one thing I did like, the Chucky and the Jason movies, when it came to the protagonists, their powers were very straightforward. They didn't really vary. I mean, Jason had his progression.
Yeah, he got more powerful, but it was still...
It makes sense. I mean, in the first movie, I wish I had seen it without knowing it was his mom, because I always knew it wasn't him in the first movie.
That's like everybody's tale of watching the first movie already.
Yeah. Well, that and Child's Play 1, like, I feel like both of them actually are detrimental watching it retroactively, because you already know.
Yeah, and in the first Chucky movie, I love the way, until like the third act, you're just not sure if it's actually the doll that's alive, or if Andy's going through like some psychological problem. Because it would be a psychological thriller if it came to find out like...
Yeah, it was just some damaged kid who's like killing off people. Yeah,
I mean, because to think about it, he's dressed exactly like the good guy doll, Chucky. So who's to say he doesn't, kill people and then blame it on the doll? Oh, he's just like me. He can do stuff without getting in trouble, whereas I can't. So if I say it's the doll's fault, it's not... it's a child's mindset. It might sound stupid, but he's what, 5, 6 in that movie?
Yeah.
He's 6 because your favorite line in the whole movie.
Oh yeah, I have a date with a 6-year-old boy.
Like I said, funny in the movies. In real life, you need to call some police.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's as long as it's just a doll saying it.
No, it's still uncomfortable.
Yeah,
if
I
buy
uncomfortable because what's this doll saying this?
If I have a doll, if I ever have children and I have a doll that's like, I have a date with this person. Okay, no, somebody's screwing something around here.
Yeah, but no, actually, it's kind of funny how that works out because Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees is very straightforward as a character.
He never speaks. He doesn't. You can't convince him not to do something. It's just, he is here. He's like a force of nature.
Yeah.
If he avoids you, thank God. If he hits you, all you can do is try to weather the storm.
And,
so I hope you're a virgin girl, because otherwise you're screwed.
So, on the one hand, you have that. Just, his superpower is being a really big guy who basically cannot be killed.
No, he keeps dying. He just gets to keep coming back.
He just comes back, yeah.
Because I'm fairly certain they tried to make... So, you know how a lot of newer stuff is just a recreation of older stories? The fact that, I swear to God, lightning brings Jason back every time, I'm fairly certain they turned Jason into Frankenstein.
Kinda. He's not really made of, a bunch of other people, but...
Well, did you ever get around to the New Line stuff, or...
No, not yet. I saw Jason Goes to Hell when I was 19, so I know they blow him up and the guy eats his heart and gets possessed by Jason.
Well, there's this whole... I guess I can spoil it here.
Yeah, go for it.
The Necronomicon is in... the actual one, the one from the first
Evil Dead?
Evil Dead movie.
It's
Sam Raimi's personal Necronomicon, and...
Please tell me he directed.
No, it was some first-time director.
And this is Jason Goes to Hell?
Jason Goes to Hell, and the director basically says Jason is a deadite.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
What?
Yeah.
There is actually kind of a cool thing there, too. I believe in one of the earlier Friday the 13th movies, they actually have, like, something in reference to Evil Dead. And with that in mind, in Evil Dead 2, because at that point it was both owned by New Line, you can actually see, like, the Freddy Krueger claw, like, hanging in.
Oh, I do. So I've never seen Evil Dead 2, but I know the scene you're talking about. I've seen that scene, but I haven't seen the movie. But then again, I love Bruce Campbell. I mean, no matter what he does, whether it be horror, action, suspense, he turns everything goofy, and I love it.
Yeah, well, that's why... that's kind of why I wanted to wait and do we did all of our research in, what would you say, about a week?
Yeah, so I think we started, like, Friday, we watched the first one. So over the course of about 8 days, we have watched the first 8 Jason movies, the 3 Child's Plays, and the first 5 Freddy movies. And can I just say, after all of that time, I'm now to the point where, great, teenagers are getting murdered, I don't even care anymore. Yeah. And that's never a good attitude to have.
Yeah, it's gonna take me, like, a week with no slasher movies, man.
I mean, I don't know what to do. I'm just kind of burnt out right now.
Yeah, just like watch a bunch of like cute puppies or something on the internet for a while.
Hey, we saw a baby seal.
Yeah, we did. Like, but yeah, no, I wanted to do Nightmare on Elm Street at the very end because he was always my favorite. It does get goofy. I'm well aware of that.
And I can understand Jason's powers because I know I know Freddy from Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah.
And I had seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street like 15 years ago, something like that. So the way I thought it worked was Jason could only haunt people who knew him, because he even says that in Freddy vs. Jason. If nobody is scared of me, if nobody knows about me, I can't actually hurt people. Yeah. I keep saying Jason, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But for some reason, even in the first movie, Freddy's specifically hunting down the children of the people that killed him. Okay, so at least the parents know, and anytime you meet any of the parents that know about Freddy, they're all really shaken up by the experience, because they're not killers.
Yeah,
so I feel like their fear of what they did gives Freddy enough power to try to hunt down their kids. But every other movie, his powers just seem random and aren't very consistent.
Well, I have an idea about that. Like, the whole thing is he's haunting their dreams, and he can kind of influence their dreams, but I feel like in the end, the person dreaming has the full control over their whole dream. So when, like in the first movie, when Nancy pulls him into the real world, in my opinion, that's not the real world. She's still dreaming the whole time. Yeah. And her thinking she pulled him into the real world, made him weaker in a way.
And that's why, so far, there are a few I haven't gotten to. Freddy's Dead and Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I don't think that's going to really affect the fact. Dream Warriors is probably my favorite because it's the first time, people are actually teaming up and, actually using that to their advantage.
The only problem I had with that movie was that they're like, oh, you found your dream power. Excuse me, you're in a dream. You can have whatever power you want. Remember, even Freddy, I think, at one point says, it's your dream, I'm just the one kind of directing it. But it's still their dream. They should have absolute control over themselves, at least, I would think.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I feel like in that scenario, it actually, basically, it, is accentuated by what you would want most. Like that mute kid had, the supersonic voice, because it's what he wanted. I cannot remember his name.
Joey?
Joey was the mute kid, yeah.
The kid in the wheelchair. He can walk. He
Yeah.
can walk, but also he's a wizard master.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that was fun fact about that. The actor was like an actual D&D nerd and like really big on DMing.
I see that.
And he personally thinks to this day that's probably how he got that role.
Ha!
But
I will say that kid, he did it wrong. Dude, quit using cantrips. Use a fireball already. Freddy hates fire.
yeah, I feel like maybe he had that argument with the director. Like, no, that's not what a wizard would do in this situation.
No, I've played a wizard in D&D. That's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, fair enough.
How did that one guy on YouTube put it? He's like, excuse me, you have a problem with your test here. Why? What's wrong? Well, you put the answer for every situation as fireball. Hey, you're making a lot of complaints for somebody within fireball range.
Yeah.
And
Make me roll like what, 6d4?
no, I think it's like 8d6 for fireball. It's
Wow.
it's actually the most powerful third level spell in the game at the time. That's why it's like the most widely known.
Yeah, it's what I always think of. So.
Right.
But yeah, it actually does kind of work out. Like, Jason is very firmly ground into what he does, and he does it extremely well.
That he does.
Freddy's very lucid. He goes all over the place, and it gets kind of wacky.
But that also is what made him such an interesting person. He's not like Jason to where I feel like they kind of wrote Jason into a corner. I feel like that's what Jason Goes to Manhattan was kind of all about. Like, hey, let's expand a bit. What does Jason do? He walks through the woods and kills teenagers.
Yeah.
That's what he's done in the last 7 movies.
Take the woods and replace them with the
Manhattan.
city in the world.
Yeah. So, and I think Jason will only kill somebody once they go to Crystal Lake, because everyone he killed was at Crystal Lake. But once he goes to actual Manhattan and he's not at his own home, I don't think he kills anybody.
By the way, on that note, it's
Except
really...
for those gangsters that was trying to rape that one chick.
Yeah, but...
We killed that one maintenance guy in the sewer, didn't we?
Yeah. But other than that, you know, like when those gangsters were going to jump him, he just kind of removes his mask and they're like, alright, we're going to leave him like, wait, what?
Oh yeah, dude.
I was waiting for Jason to just like do like a karate spin chop and decapitate 5 people. That would have been kind of cool.
Well, I mean, on that note, profit's kind of the bottom line for your average gangster, and once you see some guy like that, it's just like, alright, whatever he's got, it ain't worth it. We're going.
Right. And can I just say, I think Jason is much scarier when he never removes his mask. Just saying.
Yeah.
Because every time he does, he goes from being this, like, mysterious, otherworldly killer to... I think somebody left the Muppet under the heat lamp too long.
Just a gross mongoloid-looking dude.
Yeah.
You know, I think the only movies where he doesn't remove his mask is Freddy vs. Jason and Jason Goes to Hell. And even Jason X, someone removes it from him.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it himself, but someone does take it off.
And yeah, that always... Was it the second one where, like he had the bag head? I know.
Yeah,
that,
he had the burlap
wasn't-
sack in the second one. In the third one, he got his iconic hockey mask.
Yeah, he got it from that Jewish kid.
Now, if I remember, was it the 5th one where it was actually was it the 5th Jason movie where it actually wasn't Jason that was the killer?
It wasn't Jason, it was some guy.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it was
so,
like a paramedic or something.
Yeah, because his son got murdered right at the beginning. He was that slow, fat kid who kept trying to offer people chocolate to be his friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but like, how did he even know that was his kid? Like, he's like, this kid's in a foster home, right?
Yeah.
And he's just a paramedic in the same town.
See, they
And he has
didn't
a
explain
up-to-date
that.
photo of him, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, there's no way...
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Yeah.
I will say something I did notice. I knew from the beginning that it wasn't Jason in this movie because I remember there being another movie that was like that. But also throughout the movie, I noticed a problem. Whenever they did the music for when he would be stalking around the house, they did the music, but they didn't do that that Jason always had in all the other movies.
Yeah.
And his hockey mask had those blue stripes on the cheek, not the red triangle on his forehead.
Makes it look like he has angry eyebrows.
Yeah, I think they were trying to set up Tommy Jarvis as the killer during that movie, which is why he's not there in the third act.
I guess.
They wanted you to think he was the killer because, you know, all that trauma and he's in a foster home and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And
he's
I
like
could easily
really
see
creepy in a few scenes, just kind of standing there menacingly and crap.
Right. And can I say, Demon, that guy, he was awesome. He was my favorite person in that movie.
That's another cool actor. He actually also ended up playing in Juana Man, as well as like the bottom in the movie Life.
Juana Man?
Yes.
So, is it a Jewish guy growing marijuana, or is it a Jewish monster? I could see both with that title alone.
Both of those are way better than the actual premise of the movie.
I'm sad now.
It was like this really doofy comedy to where a basketball player dresses in drag to join the WNBA. It wasn't good, but, you know, he had a charisma that made it work.
I mean,
he was also in Return of the Living Dead, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you saying something about that when we looked him up.
There were actually a lot of actors. We're going to have to end up watching Return of the Living Dead at some point.
Well, we want to do a zombie marathon anyway with all of George Romero's films.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no reason not to.
But yeah, there are a lot of actors in both Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Because, like, anytime we were doing research, I had the IMDb open. I wanted to see, like, what I knew these people from. And Return of the Living Dead just kept coming up this whole week. Like, hey, that actor looks familiar. What's he in? Oh, Return of the Living Dead, just like everyone else.
What happened? Did George Romero watch that movie and went, you know what? These look like terrible actors. I bet I could get them for cheap.
Yeah, he's just like skimming through all the Friday the 13th and Nightmare movies like, that guy's good. That guy's good.
Return of the Living Dead was, I think that was made by his partner. I think because, like, when they split, George Romero got Of the Dead and this other guy got Of the Living Dead.
Okay,
so that's why you get those terrible Night of the Living Dead remakes.
Yeah, because I remember the original 3 trilogy, and then I remember there being a second trilogy that reminded me, except the second trilogy, I think it was Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, Return of the Living Dead.
It was all that, what was it, X-37 mysterious chemical that was bringing people back to life? Or killing them and then bringing them back to life.
Oh god, I love zombie movies.
At least the original one. Some of the newer ones.
I even like the newer ones. They're just like, I don't know. It's fun stuff.
Do you remember 28 Days Later?
Okay, I wasn't huge on that one, to be fair.
It was better than 28 Weeks Later. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it wasn't god-awful. I just like...
Because, they weren't even zombies. I think the whole... There was like a super rage virus. There was like a super rabies, I think is kind of what they were talking about. It was supposed to be like rabies. But it just caused you to go, you became a barbarian and couldn't stop berserking.
Yeah.
That's honestly kind of cool.
I mean, the concept of 28 Days Later is really cool. There's a scene where infected blood drops into the guy's eye. And the whole time he's like, stay away from me. I love you guys. Stay away. Because he doesn't want to go crazy.
Yeah,
totally.
But he realizes that no matter what he does, he's going to go crazy.
Yeah. Well, remember, what was the one with Brad Pitt?
World War Z.
Oh, God, that was a terrible movie.
Read
the book, people. It is so good. The movie just shits all over it. But where that one Israeli commando gets bit, and he's just like, no hesitation, just grabs a machete and cuts her arm off to save her life. And I'm like, damn, that's brutal, but effective.
I remember there were a lot of... I don't remember a lot of it. But I do remember there's a lot of, like, shaky cam stuff. It kind of almost feels like found footage. That and plus, the zombies were in hordes, but, like, in piles of hordes, not just, like, huge crowds.
Huh.
Like, when when they say a room full of zombies, they're like stacked on top of each other. And
They need a room full of
yeah,
zombies.
floor to ceiling. It's all zombie, man. But
I like it.
and I just feel like that's sort of a cake made of icing sort of thing. Like you're being a little over the top, even for zombie movies.
So, out of each 3 series that we watched, what would you say is your favorite movie or your least favorite?
Oh, I feel like it's better you want to divide that up into franchises.
Yeah.
So I would say Child's Play 2.
Is the one you liked or hated?
That's the one I like the most.
I'd have to agree with that one.
That one, like, you end up seeing, like, Andy's, like, growing into his own. He's actually got, like, his big sister. It's adopted, but still Kyle's awesome.
Yeah.
And, then this shit starts back up. And, of course, that's at the point you already know about the walking, talking doll that murders people.
So you got a lot more one-liners. You got to see more of Chucky, which I'm very appreciative of, because...
Yeah, the animatronics are unbelievable.
Right. And I have to bring this up. I don't know who was the midget in the costume in the first Child's Play, but I loved that guy.
I actually did look it up. There is a guy who did that. I forgot his
Gale.
name. Okay.
Ed Gale, I remember him.
Okay,
Ed
cool.
Gale did the first 2, and I think it was... He didn't show up till... I think they used a midget again until Bride, and that was some other person.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think we can all agree the third Child Play movie was terrible.
Yeah, it seemed to come right out of left field. It didn't seem to, like, connect at all to the rest of the series.
And something I always wondered, between... So, 1 and 2, he has to go after Andy. I get that. That's the rules of the voodoo curse that he's under. That makes sense. And in the third one, he realizes, hey, I have a new body. I can tell my secret to someone else. That's fine. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, what I'm curious about is...
Now he has a date with an 8-year-old boy.
Right. And he's black.
That... I mean, you're not wrong, but...
Well, no, I'm just wondering. I wondered if he had to say that line again, if he'd be like something slightly different. I mean, whoever, I cannot remember the actor's name who does Charles Lee Ray. He's an amazing voice actor.
Brad Dourif.
Okay.
Yeah, in
great.
every interview I've seen with him, he says he has a lot of fun doing the voices.
Oh yeah.
And when they started with the Bride of Chucky,
I really like
Tina Fey, is that her name?
What?
Jennifer Tilly? Or?
Yeah, Jennifer
Okay.
Tilly.
Like Tina Fey.
Sorry, but I'm terrible with names.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
a totally different actress.
He,
She's great.
even she said that he was a lot of fun to work with. They'd be in the recording booth together, and she's like, we'd have to do so many takes occasionally because he'd just make me laugh, and I'd break down on the microphone, and I had to take like a 5-minute break to calm down. They said they had a blast making those.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't want to watch those because that's when it gets really goofy. But
I was going to just because you'd already seen those, but I haven't. And I heard there's a John Waters cameo, and I fucking love John Waters, so...
But the point I was trying to make is, in 1 and 2, if by 3 he could get another child, did he not try to go after someone else in 2 because they rebuilt his body and so he was stuck in the same one?
Honestly...
Or did they just really want a reason to not have to go after Andy by the 3rd one?
Honestly, it kind of feels to me like he just, like... didn't really consider the fact.
Yeah, he's just winging it. As he
Yeah.
I mean, I would say it sounds a lot like he had a teacher, he learned like 1 or 2 voodoo spells, and then he went off and he doesn't know what he's doing. But I saw a scene from, what is the Chucky series? The new Chucky or something?
Season 3 is the newest.
Yeah, what's the
Chucky.
name of the series? Is
It's
it
just
just called
called
Chucky? And he talks about how he used to worship, what was his name, Dembala, and how, I've never had any other religion, I've been doing this for years, and I'm like, so you totally know what you're doing, but you don't know the rules to your own voodoo spell. Okay. Personally, if I'm gonna learn to cast a spell, I kind of want to learn what the side effects are, everything I need to know. But I'm just the studious type, I guess.
Again, I noticed a common theme with these slasher movies is that with any of the antagonists, you weren't really sure if they were like a total mastermind or just sort of going with it.
Yeah, is he just lucky, or does he actually have this plan? I feel like the Joker from The Dark Knight goes, "Do I really look like a guy with a plan?"
Yeah.
And then somebody made the comment that, "Have you seen all the crap he's doing? Do you think he really doesn't?" Like, I get that he's introducing chaos, but yeah, a lot of the stuff he does is so perfectly timed. There had to have been a plan at some point in time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the, all three of these guys kind of have the same situation going on. You're not really sure if they just, like, making shit up as they go, or if they've calculated this whole thing.
So I feel like Freddy definitely has a plan. He seems to be the most with it in all three franchises.
Yeah.
I feel like he... I would
Definitely
say
the
he
most-
definitely pulls the strings, or should I say, pull the tendons. I'm sorry, that, out of the whole series, that was my favorite kill, where he marionettes the guy to the roof and throws him off of it.
Yeah, well, I
Oh,
feel like...
it makes me cringe every time I think about it, because I've had tendon surgery. I've pulled a tendon. I can't imagine somebody grabbing a handful of them and yanking.
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like that's probably why Dream Warriors was my favorite Nightmare movie, just because it definitely, like, you had good characters, you had a really good premise, but the real bottom line on these movies is how good were the kills?
Oh, yes.
And they did get a little creative without getting too wacky like they did in 4.
Yeah, so I feel like 3 is the best culmination of all the Freddy movies. It still has the serious tone of the previous movies,
Yeah.
but it has the much more imaginative and graphic kills from the later ones. So I feel like it's just the much more better, well-rounded movie. Except for the first movie, I love the tendon guy, but watching him get
just the pool of blood.
splashing out, that for the longest time, that was the goriest and best kill I had seen ever. Until I was like 22 and watched one like the second Saw movie.
I feel like
some of those get weird.
I feel like there were definitely some more creative and interesting kills throughout the series, but at the same time, my
Johnny
first
Depp.
time. Well, for one, yes, it's Captain Jack Sparrow becoming liquefied, but also I just remember like this moment of just like, good Lord, how much blood does this kid have?
You know, I have heard from crime scene technicians, they're like, because I was watching, they've got a thing on YouTube where they take experts in their field and they have them watch movies and rate on the realism. And one of them was a crime scene technician doing like murder mystery shows and movies and stuff like that. And they go, the one thing that always bothered me, yeah, sometimes there really are gory things. Yes, animals will eat their owners. Yes, they can liquefy on the floor. But the one thing they always seem to miss is take however much blood you see at a murder scene and double or triple it. Because the human body has a ton of blood and they never put enough in there.
Oh, good Lord.
Right? I wasn't aware. I'm like,
Oh,
man,
no.
some of these places are drenched in blood. No, that's not enough. Oh, okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, like the blood's not actually pooling, even though it's coating every square inch of the room. Not convincing.
So, that was a good one. Jason, I am 99% sure there is no plan. It's, I see people where they're not supposed to be.
Well,
I am just grabbing the nearest thing that can kill them and heading directly for them.
Well, master plan, I don't really think so, but at the same time, he definitely does, like, strategize a lot throughout the series.
See, and I don't believe that, only because in the second movie, he gets conned by a woman wearing his mom's sweater. She's not trying in any way, shape, or form to be Pamela Voorhees. I'm just wearing a sweater and kind of sweat my hair back. Totally fooled the guy.
Yeah, but she also, it's mentioned that she's an expert in child psychology and probably does know how to make this guy tick because she's aware of the fact, Homeboy's got mommy issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I looked like that and no one else would play with me, I'd probably stick to my mom a lot more, because who else? How's that old saying go? A face only a mother could love?
Yeah, definitely. Do you think maybe that was the inspiration for Jason Voorhees? I never really connected the two, but maybe.
I can see it.
Yeah.
So favorite Jason movie? Oh,
Honestly, like, that was the thing, like, with Nightmare, it felt like it got really, really good, like with Dream Warriors, and it got really, really bad in others. I actually didn't get around to watching some of the way later ones.
yeah.
I feel like 4, like, out of what we watched, 4 was probably the least good.
Remind me which one 4 was?
That was the one with that fucking pizza scene.
The soul food.
Yeah.
He eats the meatball out of the pizza. It's got
Like-
the guy's face on it.
Oh.
I feel like they realized that Freddy was actually kind of funny, especially in 3. So they, like, accentuated it. Like, let's make him just hilarious. But they didn't really have the writing for that, so...
Well, so what about Friday the 13th?
Well, that's... Sorry, I got sidetracked. I really like Freddy Krueger.
I don't
But,
blame you, and I'll admit, that was a weird movie. Hang on, let me eat this guy's soul meatball. So, the Jason movies were... like I said, Jason out of the 3 is my favorite, just because... I don't know what it is. I personally, Guts is one of my favorites, Kenpachi from Bleach.
The big tank character who just...
The unstoppable force meets the unmovable object. I always love those kind of clashes, and Jason is an unstoppable force.
And that was the thing, like, with Nightmare, it's, you know, you have your favorites, you have your least favorites, but it seems like Friday the 13th, out of what we watched, again, it just seemed like consistently pretty good, you know? Like, there wasn't really one movie I was like, oh, this was the best one. Other than that one with that 80s hot chick, I think that was 2?
You're gonna have to be more specific. There's
a lot of 80s hot chicks. But,
I think 5 would have to be my least favorite, only because Jason's not in it at all. And I feel like by the end of the movie, you went to go see a Jason movie, and the only character not in it is Jason.
That's fair.
You know, at least the first movie I can understand. You don't know what it is. It's the very first of the series.
Yeah.
They're just setting the premise. And can I just say, Pamela Voorhees? Yeah, Pamela Anderson. All right, let's...
way different movie.
I feel like I've watched this on Skinamax before. She went from being a perfectly normal, nice, oh dear, let me help you, to, I'm going to murder you now, real fucking quick.
Oh yeah, it was just, it was like you get a good couple of minutes to be like, alright, this is just some friendly old lady. And then she immediately descends into crazy.
When she goes into the cabin and she turns to the last girl standing and tells her the story about Jason, she goes from being perfectly normal, her voice changes, her demeanor, her face.
Yeah.
And they didn't use makeup or anything. She was like a 20-year veteran of acting by the time this movie came out.
Oh yeah, she got her start like in the 50s, and she had a pretty consistent career up until this point.
And you can just see it's like a light, but instead of like being immediately flipped, which I feel like is a lot easier to go doom. It's like a dial. You can see her slowly cranking it from normal to batshit insane.
She is probably the best part of the first movie.
Oh easily. And she's only in, maybe 3 minutes of the whole movie?
Yeah, and the funny thing is the only reason she was in the movie, because she actually, I forget the name of her name, but the only reason she was in the movie, because she hated the script, her car broke down, and she would be getting paid just enough money to buy a new car.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I guess there was a little bit of resentment towards Friday the 13th as a whole, because during that weird scene in part 2, she actually couldn't make it into the studio. She had stuff going on. So the camera crew actually went to her house and, put a backdrop in and filmed her at that point.
Yeah, you know what? We're not even going to ask you to come to us. We'll come to you, close some shades. It'll take 2 minutes. We just need you to basically say Jason 30 times.
Yeah.
And there was,
And I think it was the third movie
Just
where I guess they were getting really hammered by the ratings board, because all the kills in the third one, if I remember correctly, were really downplayed. There was very little blood or anything.
yeah, well, that's from part 2 on, it was really,
Yeah.
they cut a lot out of the movies.
Which makes me sad. I really want to see, so if they could go back and find some of the old footage and re-release, a not rated version of these series, I think it would be amazing.
Well, for
Especially-
part 7,
Mm-hmm.
there's actually a lot of footage from part 7 that they had recovered, but it was old
Betamax?
Film.
test screening.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it had no sound and it didn't look very good, but it was all they had,
Yeah.
because a lot of the films destroyed or lost.
And,
Man, and that always makes me sad.
and I was reading, while we were watching Dream Child, we just did that, but I guess, it was going to be, X-rated when it was first showed to censors, and they had to tone down a lot in order to make it work.
Right. And see, I always thought X and XXX could only be given to basically porn.
Well, I mean, supposedly this was just so graphic and bloody that, they were just we can't just give this an R rating.
Right. Well, because I remember after R rating, you can do NC-17, because R rating, I think, is for up to, 15 or 16-year-olds. NC-17 is for 17 years old, and then you can just do an NR, which is not rated, and I guess not rated has a lot of stipulations to it, because nobody ever seems to want to do a not rated film, and I'm like, so
Yeah, well,
send a censored version to the theaters, but then release the not rated version for people who would like to
it's
see
like
it.
what happened after Saw. Saw basically blew up the whole rated in theaters, unrated release.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That was Saw, and then that's what sucks about a lot of movies in the 80s is
Yeah,
that wasn't even a thought. If it wasn't rated, you don't even do it.
If the censor said no, you don't do that.
Yeah, it wasn't until torture porn and other movies like that where unrated releases were seen
More
as
common.
profitable.
like
Okay.
Which is
Hostel
why
was another.
there's actually some unrated Friday films that were re-released in the mid-2000s. Like the unrated part 1, unrated part 4, unrated part 5 and 6.
Now, see, that is something I'd be interested in.
Yeah, we might want to look for that, but
Yeah, I'd love to do a side-by-side comparison, to be honest with you.
I think for part 1, it's 30 seconds were added of Kevin Bacon getting stabbed through the throat.
Oh man, that
to be
was
fair, that's a good 30 seconds to add.
right. And some of those, I think, almost every single one of the kills in Friday the 13th were all practical. So the way they do some of those,
They were actually stabbing Kevin Bacon.
that's right. He's just so powerful. He's just I could fix my neck later.
Don't worry, I'll be Hollow Man in 30 years. It'll be fine.
Oh God, Hollow Man. I really enjoyed it. I will say, out of all of the movies, the Jason Takes Manhattan, the scene at the very end where he gets hit by toxic waste, and for some reason that turns him back into a human child, that's the worst scene out of the whole series, and it just makes no goddamn sense.
If I had to take a guess, I feel like it's just them hallucinating. Lack of sleep, trauma.
And
It is
all those
something
toxic
I've seen.
waste fumes.
Yeah.
Just a lot of weird going on.
Well, not only that, but they made it seem like the final girl from that one witnessed Jason drown, and that's why he's calling out to her. Jason, at this point, drowned in the 50s. This movie is supposed to be taking place in, 95, 96, something like that?
Sometime in the 90s.
I'm sorry. Did it take you 30 years to graduate high school? Are you secretly 50 and just not telling anybody?
They actually do, like, get really weird with the timeline, by the way. Because, like, if you add up the, like, noted, like, what people say in the movies, like, the Friday the 13th franchise would be, like, around, like, 2005 by the time, like, Part 5 comes out.
Right. So the first movie takes place in, I think it's like 77 when the movie came out. Because I want to say it said this was 54 when those two camp counselors got murdered. And then I want to say it said present day.
I think it came out in 79.
Yeah.
I thought the first movie came out in, like, 77. Because I remember that for a while they released one every year.
Yeah, well, it was...
it was kind of the
Part 8 released in 88. It was literally after Part 1 every single movie.
Yeah.
And what was funny is for the first 4 movies, at the beginning there'd be a recap of the previous one.
Right?
Like, you just saw the previous one.
Right.
Yeah, that was really weird binging everything. Because it's like, hey, let's check out that thing I saw like 10 minutes ago.
Well, and that was funny because I was watching Part 2 and it had been a long day, I was tired, so I actually ended up falling asleep in the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I ended up going to bed. Well, in the morning, before anyone got up, I'm like, okay, I need to go back and watch those 10 minutes. And I did. And then we immediately started Part 3, and I go, I didn't need to rewatch anything. Yeah, there was no point to it. But yeah, I think, when was the movie with Corey Feldman?
That was
4?
Yeah.
4, and my favorite one.
So,
that was a good one.
Because 1, 2, and 3 all take place, so if I remember correctly, the second one takes place less than 6 months after the first one, because they do mention somewhere in there.
Yeah, well,
it was only like a month or two later, I think.
2, 3, and 4 take place like on
very quickly,
literally on the same weekend.
Yeah.
Because we know 1 and 2, because they talk, because Jason murders the last girl from the first movie.
A few months.
Yeah, a few months later, and then in the second one, it talks about how, oh yeah, there was like 3 months ago, all those campers got murdered on the other side of the lake, and oh yeah, I'm glad that was only 6 months ago. Did they ever catch the guy? No, but who wants to come out here by ourselves in the middle of nowhere with no phones working?
Well, hey, it was way over there on the other side of the lake.
Yeah, we're fine.
Come on, that's pretty much as far away from that as you can get in Southern Jersey.
And then I don't remember how they stopped Jason in the second movie. I don't remember now.
They tricked her, or they tricked him, like she played his mom. And,
but I remember
him, got him in the shoulder with a machete, and he just.
And then they run, and then Jason keeps coming after them. After that, I want to say they drop something on him, or he gets trapped somewhere. Because I remember at the end of the third movie, the final girl puts the hatchet in his head, and we think he's done. And then literally the very next day, he gets wheeled to the board, comes back to life, and goes back on his murder rampage. And that's where you get Corey Feldman. So, and after he dies in that movie, the next movie takes place, what was it, like 6 years later?
Yeah.
Because Corey Feldman's all grown up now.
Yeah,
he's
no
17.
longer Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
He's about to leave the system.
Yeah, well, I want to say he was 15, because doesn't the next movie take place like a year later?
Yeah, it takes place when he's 18 and he got out. And if you pay close attention, you know the Amy, I think her name is Amy Steele. She's like the woman from the fifth movie.
Yeah.
The final girl. If you pay close attention to the first scene in Part 6 as they're driving, that's her truck.
No way.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's awesome.
I honestly don't. I'd say I need to go back and rewatch that, but I really don't want to right now.
Uncle Ben's car's the same as Ash Williams's.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And just the fact, the only thing Tommy Jarvis wants to do is fuck Jason up. I'm going to kill you to death and, magic lightning bolt. Well, crap, I brought Jason back to life instead.
Yeah.
And can I say, I like that gravekeeper. He comes across an open grave with a foot sticking out of it, and all he says is, nah, fuck this, I ain't dealing with that, rebury him.
That's the Jersey attitude I've come to expect.
This whole thing takes place in New Jersey.
Yes, it does. And it's a very good representation of Southern Jersey.
Yeah, if part 4 wasn't my favorite, it'd definitely be part 6, because part 6 is when they became self-aware and added a lot of dark humor into the series.
Yeah.
7, I really don't remember 7 at the moment.
Yeah.
Wait,
Seven's
was
with
7
the psychic girl?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Which
that was...
7's probably my least favorite, except for the ending, which is probably the best in the series.
Yeah, where she brings her dad back to life, and I'm sitting here like, did her dad also never get recovered out of the lake? Because isn't that why she brought Jason back? Because his body was still there? Yeah, I could see that. Well, because of that movie, I was telling Patrick, there's a lake in, what'd you find out, Minnesota?
Yeah, I think it was Minnesota.
They actually have a Jason statue in the lake that some artist put down there to scare scuba divers.
Having no idea who Jason is.
Yeah, you're just
diving.
taking a swim in a lake in Minnesota.
There's a guy with a hockey mask and a machete. Oh, fuck! Hey, can we speak about his iconic weapon, the machete? It's in, like, half the movies. He only uses it, like, once in every movie.
Yeah,
but by God, that's what everyone knows him for.
Yeah, exactly. It's very strange. It's kind of like It's kind of like the head explosion move from Fist of the North Star. It's very iconic. The dude uses it, well, actually, pretty often, but not nearly as much as you'd think. He doesn't just run through head explosion. Yeah, and that's the same way with Jason. He just I have a machete.
Right.
I like this machete.
Oh man.
He's not gonna use used so many. He's used road spikes. He's used weed eaters.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
He's gotten very creative.
So
one of those party horns, he stuck into that chick's eye.
Oh, I forgot about that. So, what do you think? Out of all of the deaths in Friday the 13th series, what would have to be your favorite? That would be a tough one for me, to be honest with you, but
yeah.
Jason X, the liquid.
Oh, that was cool. That was
probably dry ice head smashed on the table.
Goofy as that movie was, it probably was
a really cool death scene.
It had some really good aspects going for it.
Okay, I don't know what would be my favorite death. There was a lot of good ones, like that woman that he gets in the sleeping bag and just beats her against a tree.
Yeah.
That was a good one. But if I had to pick my favorite, it's not technically a death, but in the 9th movie, Freddy Goes to Hell, the army or whatever sweeps up all the Jason bits after they mortar them, and they take it to a morgue, and the guy is just trying to pick through all the bits, and he sees Jason's heart, and he just goes from being normal to getting a crazed expression on his face and just picking it up and just start eating Jason's heart. And he gets possessed because of it. And I'm just like, okay, that's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Another one in Jason Goes to Hell is when he switches bodies from the police officer, and the police officer starts to disintegrate on the floor.
See? Yeah, it's a very goofy movie. We'll have to show it to you, but
definitely.
It's great.
This sounds fun.
It is.
Yeah, so far out of all the later Jason movies, I think the only one I'd really seen... I saw Jason vs. Freddy. Freddy vs. Jason, rather. But I also saw Jason X. Everything between, Part 8 and then I don't really know anything about.
Don't worry, it's only one movie.
But
there's a lot of kills in Jason movies.
Oh yeah, hence why it's Jason X. It's the 10th movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for the longest time, that always confused me, too. Just because, it's like with the Freddy movies. The last one, Dream Child, it goes Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, 3, and then they stopped putting the Nightmare on Elm Street in the titles. If you watch it on TV, it still says it, but on the actual movies and stuff, they took off Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. I guess because at this point, you're like, it's got, what'd you say, Robert Englund?
Yeah, Robert Englund.
Once you see his name, you're like, oh, must be a Freddy movie. And I guess they didn't have to put that on there anymore. Yeah. I feel like they did some of that with Jason as well. It took a lot longer, but it's Nightmare on Elm Street. Or Friday the 13th. Most of them aren't named.
Or with Chucky, they were going with Child's Play for a long time, and then they just, it's a Chucky movie. You know it's a Chucky
I think that's because they took a 10-year hiatus with that.
Yeah, it was, the first one came out in 88, then 89, then 90, and then,
I think The Bride of Chucky
Bride was 97.
Really? I thought it was 2000 something.
Yeah.
Seed of Chucky came out in 2000.
Okay.
Because the Bride came out as a response to Scream.
Oh yeah.
If I remember right, there was an even longer hiatus between that and like I believe
after Seed flopped horrendously. He took a 10-year break.
Yeah.
Well, did Wes Craven? So I know Wes Craven did the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
He did the first,
and then he did the New Nightmare, right?
Yeah, which you got to see Wes Craven's New Nightmare. It's basically Scream. It's like a proto Scream. It's meta. It's in the real world where Nancy, I forget the name of her actress, but she plays herself in the real world.
And you actually get to meet Robert Englund,
Robert
who
Englund plays himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
The executive producer at New Line's in there, and he plays himself, and Wes Craven plays himself.
Oh, nice.
See, and I was just like checking out all the Freddy movies, and I'm like, there's New Nightmare. Because for anyone who doesn't know, I've mentioned it a few times, I got really into horror movies because I had a friend, I would just go over to his house about once a week or so, and we'd just get drunk and watch crappy movies. It was awesome. But... So, yeah, I was looking over, like, his Nightmare movies, and I was like, New Nightmare, what's that like? That's when it starts getting stupid. I'd avoid it. I don't know why he didn't like it, but I was like, alright, you're not into it.
And that's when it starts getting stupid? Did he not see 5?
Well,
yeah.
The whole premise of it is Wes Craven's trying to make another Nightmare movie to keep this demon who's trying to pretend to be Freddy out of the real world. And he breaks into the real world, you know, and he looks like Freddy. And
is that where they talk about how Freddy is actually like an ancient Sumerian demon and whatnot?
Yeah, okay.
I thought that was going to be brought up in 5.
Because I never saw that, and you were talking about that randomly, like, between films, so I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
One of the best kills, in my opinion, is in Nightmare. It's like, you know, in the first movie, the setup to be final girl who actually dies early on is, like, dragged onto the ceiling. And the guy's watching this all happen.
In the first one?
They recreate that, but Freddy's actually there doing it.
Huh.
Yeah.
In front of a kid.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember something about that. I never watched it, but I remember hearing something about that on, like, I don't know, a Watch Mojo list or something. Like, the kid's got, like, hearing issues, right? Is that something
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
But,
I will
maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I will say, as much as I didn't like Child's Play 3, my favorite kill is in that movie where that kid just dives on that grenade.
Oh, yeah.
The poor terrified kid from the whole movie just... Alright, that was a cool kill, and God bless you, sir, for sacrificing yourself. You looked goofy as hell blowing up, though.
Oh, yeah.
I feel bad kind of laughing at him in that scene.
It's his redemption for being a loser and not believing him the whole time.
Right.
It was one of those things, like, in concept, it is admirable and a really cool death, but on the other hand, you're just like...
It's goofy as hell, man.
Yeah.
I loved it, though.
It was... Yeah. I mean, again, I noticed, like, there wasn't any of these movies that I was like, there is nothing redeemable about this. You know what I mean? Like... Even with, like, Nightmare Part 4, I still kind of felt like, you know, there's some creative stuff going on. They, like, end up killing off pretty much everyone from 3 in, like, the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Right. Well, I've noticed Freddy is one of the only people who does kill off all the survivors in the next movie, it seems like.
Yeah, that's fair.
And at this point, watching the movies, I'm like, you know what? I'm not getting my hopes up on anyone who survives until Alice gets pregnant in the 5th movie, and then I'm like, oh, okay, she has to survive because I'd never seen the 5th one. My guess was one of two things: either she was pregnant and the baby had her powers because it's a part of her, and Jason was using that to control other people's dreams, or Freddy was coming into the real world. Because when he very first reappears, he touches her belly, and I'm sitting there thinking, did he somehow cause her to get pregnant? And that's his child? I actually thought that for a little bit going into the movie.
That'd actually be terrifying.
Oh,
Yeah, it
oh
was.
yeah. That's
It
why,
was.
and even partway through the movie, when he's feeding that child souls that he killed, I'm like, that's kind of odd.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I mean, why would Freddy, who is extremely selfish, I mean, even in Freddy vs. Jason, he understands he has to send Jason after people to kill them. But once he's powerful enough to do it, he gets extremely jealous over his kills. Like, no, that's my dead teenager.
I think
Yeah.
Freddy only kills like 2 people in that movie. Jason does most of the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
He
right.
killed
I think
Kelly
so.
Rowland, right?
Huh?
He killed Kelly Rowland, right? I forget her character's name, but
I don't remember.
yeah.
I will say the most impressive kill in Nightmare on Elm Street still has to be that Mark, the comic book guy. I wish he didn't die, but the fact that he turns into a superhero and then into a page, instead of blood, he's losing color. I thought it was a very imaginative kill. It was
imaginative,
very different than anything else that I've done in the series.
And again, I feel like, especially with that one, it was probably toned down a lot to avoid like an X rating. So
Yeah,
I kind
'cause
of
I
want
don't-
to see like what they had planned originally, but at the same time,
Because yeah, outside of like people getting slightly injured, there was really no blood in the entirety of the 5th movie.
Yeah, well, that kind of works in Nightmare's favor because without being able to be gory, they have to actually think of interesting, creative ways to kill
Yeah,
people in
and
dreams.
yeah, for what it's worth, I didn't care much for the movie itself, but the kills were always creative. They were interesting.
Yeah, whereas Jason, it's very straightforward. I see you, there's a pitchfork, I wonder where this is going to go.
Yeah.
So, not as imaginative, but I think they try to make that up with just body count.
Fair enough. Then
And-
plus, like, just that impact of, like, oh, did you just see that?
Right.
Yeah.
With Freddy, it's like a long, drawn-out process, like, okay, now I'm just kind of getting uncomfortable. Can you just kill this person already? I'm feeling bad for them.
Oh, yeah,
And
I
whereas-
feel like every single frame of that marionette scene, I was just like,
Oh, yeah.
ow.
Whereas Jason, he just appears behind you, and I don't know. You know what? Now that I think about it, my favorite death in all of the Jason movies has to be, which one did we say? The 6th one with Tommy Jarvis as an adult, where Jason just grabs the final girl's father and just bends him in half backwards.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, I blinked and I missed it, and I go, oh my god, just no effort, just.
It's
Done.
the sound. It's the sound that really.
Oh
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's
I
actually...
don't know who the sound engineer is for movies like this, but they don't get paid enough. They do amazing work.
There's actually a scene in Stir of Echoes like that, which is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, where a woman like gets the tip of her finger snapped off,
Ooh.
and you watch it in mute, and you're like, "Oh, that was interesting," but it has that like wet celery crunch with
yeah.
the sound, and you're just like, "Okay, no." It's rough, man. At that point, it is hard to watch. So
Nah. Ooh.
yeah.
Right. It's with Jason, it's more unnerving. I mean, with Freddy, it's more unnerving. With Jason,
Yeah.
it's jarring.
brutal and jarring.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then with Chucky,
I feel
his
like
kills
like
are-
he's more of like a combination between the two. Like he'll get creative, but we're still in the real world. With
Right,
the
well,
possessed doll.
like-
It's a lot more suspenseful.
Yeah.
Because he's a doll and he has to like hide most of the time.
Yeah, so the kills tend to be very quick, but it's the setup and his one-liners that you enjoy more. Like in the 3rd movie, he's very pragmatic. Oh, there's a security guard. I'm going to stab him. Hey, I need to get these kids out of the way. I have a grenade and I swap the paint out for real bullets.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to stab this guy. And then he ends up having a heart attack. I love how everybody I've ever seen mentions that scene, because even Chucky's disappointed. He's like, I'm gonna kill. Oh, come on,
Yeah.
man.
Well, and that's another thing. Like I feel like it was Child's Play 2 is where he like really got into the whole like maniacal laughing thing that just like
He does have a great laugh.
he does.
Brad Dourif was actually for the doll character, he's actually trying to emulate Jack Nicholson's voice.
Oh, I could kind of hear it, yeah.
And what's interesting is he actually played with Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Really?
Which was right before Child's Play.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Okay.
I like.
Yeah. I did not know that. I didn't really connect the dots there. I actually did like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest a lot, but I didn't really, like... I don't have, like, the entire IMDb memorized like I do Friday the 13th.
Well, I did enjoy these movies. I'm not going to watch them for a while. I kind of want to cleanse my palate with something else, but I did enjoy them.
I probably will get around to watching New Nightmare, but it's going to take, like...
A few days.
A week, maybe.
You're going to have to cleanse your palate with a bunch... with a lot of Saints Row.
Yeah. I'm tired of watching teenagers die. I might go kill some teenagers myself.
That's right. And you know who Jason kind of reminds me of?
There.
The Punisher.
I can kind of see it.
In the whole, like I said, the unstoppable force kind of thing. Except in one, you kind of want people to survive, and in the other one, yeah, go kill those gangsters. It's like the same type of protagonist, but just a different victim group that you feel complete polar opposites for.
Yeah, like with Jason, it's like, you know, you're not going to keep teenagers from getting horny by killing them. You're not really accomplishing anything, like, but at the same time, like...
I'm reminded of that joke. Man, I never realized it was so hard keeping people from having sex. Now I know how the Catholic Church feels.
Yeah, it didn't work for them either.
Nope.
But,
And then those, I will say that Escher stairway scene from the fifth Freddy movie, that one was kind of interesting. I liked it.
Yeah.
Just the different perspective from camera angles can really make a huge difference.
I mean, again, like, 5 definitely was not anywhere near my favorite, but it had some really creative stuff going for it.
Yeah, 4 and 5 is where they started to actually play into the fact that they were dreaming.
Yeah.
Took advantage of that, morphing the environments around them, making some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I will say every kill that Freddy does, I won't say I remember all of them, but they are definitely a lot more memorable than any others, just because of some of the things that happens. Like you take the fourth one, where the 2 kids get killed that were the survivors from the last movie. One of them, the black kid, Kincaid, that's who it is. I couldn't remember his name. Just gets stabbed in the gut, and I'm like, aw, he was kind of a cool character.
Yeah.
And then Joey gets pulled into a waterbed mattress and drowns?
Can we talk about how they brought Freddy back in Part 4?
Yeah. They like...
Kincaid is dreaming.
Yeah.
And his dog
digs up the bones.
Pees fire on Freddy's corpse.
Yeah, I don't...
And that brings him back.
I know.
Yeah, I'm still not understanding how Freddy keeps coming back. Jason, at least, they try to be something similar?
It might be just like...
Which is kind of ironic now that I think about it, because Kincaid's dog's name was Jason. Pretty obvious nod to Friday the 13th. And he kind of brought Freddy back to life. But in Freddy vs. Jason, Freddy brings Jason back to life. I
like it.
Wanted to note the irony.
I think the way it's being brought back... Well, you know how sometimes your mind can have, like, split-second flash thoughts that you get, like, attached to?
Yeah.
Well, it's probably, it's mainly just the fear. Like, kids' fear of Freddy
is what gives them
power. So it may have been, Kincaid was dreaming, and all of a sudden he had, like, a flash thought of Freddy, and all of a sudden he's in the junkyard.
Especially considering literally the night before, Kristen pulled them into her dream, and she was afraid that Jason was coming back. So now that thought's in their head.
All it takes is the one thought, and you get hooked to it. And that's probably what happened in the first movie. Someone heard Freddy's name and had some vague memory, repressed memory. It just.
Well, that's definitely how
didn't Freddy actually get killed in Nancy's house? Like, isn't that where they killed him? Was in the basement, or did Freddy live at that house? Something like that.
There was some factory he worked at that they torched.
Yeah, but for some reason, like, Nancy's mom in their basement had the glove. You think maybe just the proximity to that gave him the ability to start this whole thing? Because that was the blade that killed, what they say, 20 to 30 children. Well, so, I mean, it's already got a lot of powerful negative emotions in it.
The fact that people still live in that town. Like, the fact that there's still kids in that
town. The fact that people still live on Elm Street. And can I just say, you've had how many kids die in this town of very strange circumstances, and every time it happens, everyone's screaming Freddy Krueger? No, Freddy doesn't exist. I don't understand why people would say that. Yeah. How about the mountain of bodies that you have as evidence?
They're sleeping, and all of a sudden their heads are gone. You know, it's probably just some sudden death, sudden sleep death.
Yeah,
stuff.
And then by the time you get to Freddy versus Jason, even the police are like, "You mentioned Freddy, and we're going to send you to what is that mental asylum? Winehurst, I want to say, something like that.
Something like.
I want to say Stony Brook, but I think that's something else.
They both sound correct. I bet we're just thinking of different asylums from different movies.
It is kind of interesting, and I read about this several years ago. Wes Craven got the idea for Freddy Krueger because he was reading a news article about somewhere in India. There was just this one town where, like, a bunch of mostly men in, like, their late teens and early 20s just died in their sleep, perfectly healthy. And he wanted to, like, come up with an idea as to why they would do that.
You know, it kind of reminds me of the whole "I'll take your firstborn son" scenario from the 10 Plagues of Egypt. Which, you know, the interesting thing, they tried to explain it away, and one theory I heard makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm Christian, I believe what the Bible tells me, but I also believe that a lot of times God just works with what's here. It's probably easier.
Well, and like, it was originally in Hebrew, and, like, there is a lot of, like, it's kind of hard to translate from Hebrew to English.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're talking about is, like, literally at the same time, a volcano, like, I think it was like 200-300 miles away, erupted, and they're thinking... So, this is the day of Passover, right?
Yeah.
A lot of Jewish families were staying awake that night. They were praying. They were doing their family meals. So everyone was up. And in Egyptian culture, it was common for newborn children to sleep in the bed with their parents, whereas the oldest child got their own cot on the floor to sleep.
Yeah.
Now, they're thinking that a very heavy, dense gas that comes about when a volcano erupts rushed through Egypt. So, all the people who were standing up aren't low enough to the ground to inhale this gas, whereas all the firstborn male children who have their own bed and are sleeping on the floor... That's just one of the theories I heard, and it's interesting, and that is a real phenomenon. There actually is a story of a guy hiking up a volcano. He notices his shoes are untied, and he bends down to tie them. They did not realize this super deadly gas was there, and it was at about waist level, so nobody noticed it. Yeah. By the time he bent down to tie his shoe, he was already dead. And it's terrifying to think of something like that, but it is an actual thing that happens in real life.
Oh, yeah.
That reminds me of... that one tragedy where, like, sulfur built up at the bottom of the lake and like a bubble came up and popped and it was this huge explosion.
Oh yeah.
And that this red gas filled the town and killed almost everyone.
I think I know the thing you're talking about. Yeah, like
was that like it was either sulfur mining or something adjacent to that in, like, Pennsylvania. And now there's a ghost town there, and that has been an inspiration for several things, most notably the Silent Hill games.
Yeah, that was based on a coal fire, because they had coal mines running throughout the town.
Okay.
And it got lit on fire. Okay. But yeah, what you're talking about has happened quite a few times. There was I remember there was a sultan or something who sent his army across a mountain to go attack a city, and they just vanished and were never heard from again. And then in, like, the 1980s or 90s, they found them. They found all 300 of them basically still in formation right next to a lake. And they come to find out that there's a huge, like, sulfur deposit at the bottom of the lake And every so often, when there, because it's rare, but there is earthquake activity in that section, and when it happens, it shuffles the bottom of the lake, and a huge bubble of sulfur will come up, pop the top, and then just cover the area in poisonous gas.
Ugh.
Yeah, and it's not like there's really a way for you to know, especially 500-600 years ago.
Don't live near a big lake.
Yeah, there you go. Otherwise, Jason will come and get you.
Yeah, especially not Crystal Lake.
Yeah. Hey, here's an idea. Just everybody stay away from Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
Or if you're really worried about it, next time you kill Jason, bury him in concrete.
It's not.
Make sure stupid teenagers can't dig him up and resurrect him with lightning.
It's really not that hard to get out of Jersey, man.
Yeah, you did it.
Yeah, I kind of miss it, but at the same time,
right. So, I like what we did here. I love these movies.
They are.
I am going to get more into them. Like I said, we've still got a lot more Freddy and Jason, and I do want to see the Chucky series. It looks really good.
Well, it starts to pick back up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm guessing the seasons go up and down.
Yeah, season 2. That was a bizarre season.
Fair enough.
So
I feel like every series is entitled to that one season you like a little bit less than the rest of them.
Or how lately all the shows have just, you know what? It's the last season. Don't even try.
Oh.
That seems to be a running theme lately.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, Ozark.
What was the one with all the zombies?
Walking Dead.
Yeah. I tried to get into Walking Dead. I got like 3 episodes in, and I'm just...
The first season is the absolute best.
I heard season 2, when they're in the prison, is just the most boring.
Well, after season 2, it becomes AMC, which, by the way, AMC owned the rights to The Walking Dead. They bought the rights for the show. If you know Breaking Bad,
yeah,
they didn't actually own the rights to Breaking Bad, so they were actually to keep creative control.
Oh yeah, that was like a leftover from HBO, pretty much.
They worked against, AMC couldn't control Breaking Bad, so
that's why it's good all the way through.
So but ended up killing him.
What happened was Robert Kirkman and Frank Darabont, which Frank Darabont has done all sorts of great movies: Green Mile, Stand By Me,
nice,
The Mist.
Wow, he really likes working on Stephen King projects.
Yes, he does. Not just the Green Mile, but Shawshank Redemption as well.
I'm just saying, a good director can only work with good material.
Well, fair enough.
You get those two together, and you can make gold.
Yeah, Frank Darabont and Robert Kirkman made the first season, which Robert Kirkman did the comics. And the first season is the best. It's only 6 episodes long, but it is absolutely the best out of the whole show.
All right. Well, I think that's all the time we have here today. So I hope you enjoyed this. We hope to have Ethan back again someday. We are talking about doing a what am I thinking? Hellraiser. Who am I thinking? Clive Barker episode. We don't actually know anything about Clive Barker. We've never watched any of his stuff.
We're still brainstorming some things.
Yeah. The only thing I know about him is Hellraiser.
Because Clive Barker's work is vast.
Yes, and we're not going to do another cram session like we did this week. That was way too exhausting and time consuming. So we want to spread this out.
It would be kind of like doing a Stephen King episode. Like
you could never do that.
Yeah,
we could,
but it would whittle it down to something we can only talk about for an hour.
Yeah.
If you ever do more horror, or if you ever do Saw.
Ooh, Saw would be a really good Halloween episode.
I just watched Saw X, so.
See, and I watched like the first 3 Saws, and after that it started getting weird.
Well, it turned into a soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did.
That's kind of the nature of all horror movies. Like anything past like 4 movies, eventually they get like kind of goofy.
And they go to space.
Eventually. Yeah.
Chucky in space.
Oh God, I want that.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Well, on that happy note, we'll see you next time.
Later.